We are also very consciously looking at designing new ways, and we keep studying. So one of our research areas that our students have picked up is around life-centric designs. And we believe that, every life form is very, very important. It's not just human beings, and therefore we need to be sensitive to them. So there's a quick glimpse that we will be sharing with all of you on the screen on life-centric designs that we have started working towards as part of our research. Right, so that was just a little bit of our effort towards starting, understanding and designing more life-centric themes. And thank you, Dr. Fendros, once again. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Enoch Opariminta, who is our second speaker and who will be speaking on climate proficiency, which is a future skill for a sustainable world. And Enoch is also joined with Professor Gemma Sherman from Kingston University, London. I believe she's just been online. And let me just speak a little bit about Enoch. Enoch, I connected with him on LinkedIn, and I immediately realized he's a very positive and a very excited person. So nice to have you here. He's a dedicated researcher and advocate for sustainable practices in our ever-changing world. Currently a PhD candidate at Kingston University, London, and has his expertise in the field of climate proficiency and its importance for creating a sustainable future. Enoch's educational background is very impressive: an MBA from University of Liverpool, MSc in governance from University of Lincoln, UK, a certificate in hospitality and tourism management from Florida Atlantic University, US, and he's done his BA from Ghana. With this diverse knowledge base, he brings a multidisciplinary approach to his work. As an associate lecturer, he shares his expertise in governance, sustainability, reporting, business ethics at the University of Lincoln, UK, and cross-cultural communication and management at Chongqing Technology and Business University, China. His dedication to teaching at the postgraduate level reflects his commitment to shaping the next generation of global leaders, and his professional experience across Africa, Asia, Europe, etc., has put him on a very significant focus, and his contributions have garnered international recognition, including the prestigious UK Prime Minister's Points for Flight Award. This acknowledgement speaks to his unwavering dedication and impact in the field of sustainability. And Mr. Enoch Opariminta, my pleasure to invite you to speak to our audience members on your topic for today.
Okay, thank you very much, and warm greetings from the UK. The weather is not treating us too bad, so thank you very much for the audience and everyone here, and then also to Professor Evangelos. That was a quite insightful presentation. Yeah, at a point I didn't want you to stop. I just wanted you to continue, so I keep learning. So as the introduction went, my name is Enoch Opariminta, and I'm looking at a very interesting concept I coined some months ago, which I call the climate proficiency, which I think is the future for employability, especially if we are thinking about creating a sustainable world. I mean, there's a huge debate when it comes to the process of embedding sustainable education for sustainable development in the teaching and learning process. We have a lot of gatekeepers, for example, in government institutions, in private institutions, be it formal and informal education system. Where do we start the implementation of education for sustainable development so that our students will be prepared for the challenges that lies ahead, especially in the job market? So there's always this conflicting thesis of how do we apply it, where do we apply it, and when do we apply education for sustainable development? Some of these theses have really centered around should we really moderate or reconfigure our learning design? I just also think, I mean, it's not just about the learning design, which is just a component of the teaching and learning process, but a whole redevelopment of the teaching and learning curriculum. Looking at the gatekeepers, I mean, for some institutions, the kind of bureaucracy you have to go through before getting approval for embedding ESD. Some also think, okay, why not limit it to the teaching methodology so that maybe before we get approval, we would be able to impact education for sustainable development knowledge in the students. There has also been calls for a more data and evidence driven teaching and learning process which might cut across, impacting the teaching methodology, the curriculum development, and the learning design. There's also been calls for a more industry-focused approach to learning. The proponents of this concept are saying that uh, why not try and develop a more bespoke and tailored approach to learning so that when these students leave the classroom and come to the job market, they are equipped with the necessary skills to meet the challenges of the 21st century and beyond. But opponents to this idea of industry focused approach to learning say that no, it will be like developing students in a one way uh, approach to learning where they just know what to deliver to make solutions. And it then affects the whole idea of the indisciplinarity of the teaching and learning process. There's also been calls on developing the teacher. Once the teacher is developed, he will be able to affect the whole teaching and learning process. Once a teacher is trained, he or she knows when and how to bring in data-driven teaching methodologies, bring in practical information. So let's rather focus on the teacher. The current research is also trying to push the whole idea of bringing students into the picture as co-generators and co-creators of knowledge, especially when we have, a chunk of our students being young people, being in the youth brackets. They know what is happening with climate change. They know what is happening with sustainability. Why not give them that opportunity to also have a role to play in co-creating knowledge and learning? Recently, it has, started in the UK, where there is also this idea of having students do course and module mapping to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to see how what they are learning in class is really translating to meeting the challenges they would face when they get out of school. But whether we subscribe to any of these strategies, the most important thing is we need to find a way of bringing education for sustainable development in the classroom, whether it is a formal learning process or an informal learning process. There has been the thesis of which future skills to develop and which future skills we think would be needful for the future of work. Again, there's still conversation around creating a climate smart education system, which is quite bigger than just a teaching methodology, quite bigger than just a learning design, quite bigger than having students as co-creators and co-generators of knowledge, but a whole climate smart education system where the quality and relevancy of the teaching and learning process really reflects the kind of students we want to develop to meet the needs of the 21st century. A kind of education smart system which brings in the idea of climate, of planet protection, and then climate justice. I don't know if you have chanced on the recent reports on future of skills for the future of work. The World Economic Forum reports and Kingston University London also conducted this research on future skills. You realize that looking and trying to contrast these two reports, there is a lot of talk about future skills, which is more connected to problem solving, critical thinking, creativity and innovation, leadership, technology, applying AI, metaverse, and analytical thinking. And this really cuts across every spectrum of learning. So whether students are studying finance, whether they are studying procurement and supply chain management, if it's marketing, whichever course they are studying, that importance in developing the competence of problem solving, critical thinking has now been very instrumental for some of these research output, which thinks that these are going to be the future skills students need to develop. But from my point of view, I think the safest place for knowledge experimentation and learning is in the classroom. And if we are not able to get students, we are not able to redesign, reconfigure our teaching and learning processes and procedures to make sure that we develop these core competencies students need when they get out of the classroom, it is going to be very difficult. And in fact, we are going to be trying to catch up with time in terms of the delivery of innovative solutions, which will help, curb some of these challenges we are facing. But I'm thinking that it is not enough to have this problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, leadership, technology, and analytical thinking when it's not really embedded in a new future skill. I think I have termed climate proficiency. And when we are talking about climate proficiency, we are basically looking at the possession and application of climate change related knowledge, skills, and values as it applies to a particular working environment or whichever working environment the student will find himself. So if a student is studying finance, a student is studying marketing, a student is studying procurement and supply chain management or logistics, how are we able to develop their climate proficiency so that once they get out of the classroom space and they get into their graduate programs or whichever place they find employment, they will understand green financing, they would understand green marketing, they would understand green procurement, they will understand green logistics, they would know how it is very critical to maintain this green and climate, not just ideology, but practices in order to not go in as that traditional finance manager, that traditional accountant, but an accountant who understands how their profession, their skill set, their knowledge connects to protection of the environment and climate change. And in pushing for this climate proficiency, I'm thinking about the possession and application of climate related knowledge and skills and values in 4 critical areas or 4 levels. The first level, which I call the beginner level, it is about that awareness that leads to a working knowledge of climate issues. So that at the end of the day, when students leave the classroom, they don't just have the general awareness of climate change issues, of sustainability related issues, but it is this kind of awareness that equips them with a working knowledge as to what climate risk means for the kind of business have been employed, or if they are entrepreneurial, how climate related risks means for my entrepreneurship drive, my business. There's that little setup in that village, in that town, in that city. So that beginner competence in climate proficiency, again, I reiterate, it is not just about the general awareness of climate change causing flooding, climate change causing food insecurity and what have you, but that awareness that equips them with that working knowledge and skills to be able to look at their working environment and think ABC are the factors which really pose a threat to the kind of businesses we are doing. And the kind of business we are doing is also posing ABC threats to the environment. At the intermediate level of climate proficiency, we are looking at students' ability or young people's ability to contribute and effectively support climate-related thinking and strategy implementation. So wherever they find themselves, if it's at the workplace, they are not just aware, they don't just have that working knowledge and tools, but they are able to contribute effectively to discussions to support, the whole thinking process when it comes to climate change and the whole strategy implementation. At this level, at the intermediate level, they may not be able to create that strategy, to create that knowledge. But once that knowledge is spelled out in their organization, they are able to take that knowledge up, disseminate the information, and help in the smooth implementation of, climate-related initiatives that is aimed at reducing companies' carbon footprint or their impact on the environment. While students, progress in, delivering such knowledge and exercising such values and skills, they get to another level of climate proficiency I call the advanced level, where they are not just aware and equipped with the working knowledge and skills and tools. They are not just at a level where they can contribute and effectively support climate-related thinking and strategy implementation, but they are able to lead sustainability and climate-focused projects and business activities, where they are able to take that initiative to develop projects, to develop programs, to develop ideas, which helps the business in mitigating its impact on the society. At the expert level, which again will take time and experience to develop, we are looking at students or young people's ability to diagnose a situation, diagnose a business challenge. Out of that diagnosis, probably conduct a materiality assessment of metrics, create and develop solutions, which I call solutions which are climate resilient business solutions. So that at the end of the day, we are not just being reactive to the happenings of the impact of climate change on businesses and on individual well-being, but we are encouraging this advanced proactivity to make sure that at the end of the day, whether students are in the planning process or whether they are brought in to salvage a situation, they have that diagnostics ability to conduct a very robust materiality assessment and then create and develop solutions which are resilient. And for me, I think there is an employability case and business sense for developing climate proficiency. Number one, the space of recruitment, retention, placement is changing. HR professionals are not just looking for the normal finance analyst. They're not looking for the normal marketing candidates. They're not just looking for the normal procurement and logistics students, but they are looking at finance students, finance professionals who understand how the dynamics and the interaction of finance affects climate and how the whole thinking around climate financing can be made possible at that business level and how this contributes to the national and regional discourse. So HR is out there scouting for people. And it's very interesting to note that I was speaking to one HR person and he said something very interesting. And he says, today when we are employing, we are not just employing for the present role, we are employing for the future. In other sense, we are not just employing you to come and deliver your job roles or to manage the portfolio. Because the market environment is evolving, business is evolving, the climate is evolving. We are employing people who can really show competence in this evolving market and in this evolving environment. And that is what I think as educators we present to our students, that competence and capabilities that can give them that dynamic edge to this ever-changing and evolving environment. Again, for businesses, it's a cost-saving mechanism for businesses. And today we can see a lot of businesses having internal training and development, training staff on sustainability-related issues. This is going to be a thing of the past. And the early we develop students' climate proficiency, the better for them and the better for educational institutions. And I think educational institutions that will be looking at being proactive in this field will have a competitive advantage when it comes to delivering robust and value for money education to students. Again, it's another cost-saving angle for businesses, especially now when businesses are outsourcing their ESG portfolio, ESG strategies to consultants and outside companies. In the near future, companies are looking at ownership of their ESG strategies to give them a competitive advantage in the market. And how would they be doing that? They are looking at leveraging the the internal resources, internal capabilities, internal knowledge of employees to make sure that the kind of ESG activities and initiatives they develop is owned by them, is created for them by them, and most importantly, it gives them that competitive edge over their competitors in the market. I would want to, before I go to my final slide, I would want to end with this anonymous quote, which says that we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, but we borrowed it from our children. In other words, if we inherited it from our ancestors, we can choose to manage it any way we like. But once we have that idea that we borrowed this earth from our children, once you borrow, you have to you have to pay interest. So you realize that we don't leave, this earth or this planet the way as we find it. We rather leave it in a more beautiful shape for our children. So thank you very much for your audience. And I have published an article on climate proficiency, which would be in the chat. So anybody interested can click on the link and read more about climate proficiency. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And over to Doc.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And you also get a thumbs up from Dr. Fendra. So a very valuable direction, considering that we are hugely invested in trying to design curriculum around employability skills. And I think you were so accurate in sharing this, that, we are not really designing programs for students who are graduating today, but they'll be doing after 3-4 years, and the world is going to be very difficult and different. And therefore, the more we are able to, acclimatize them towards that future of work, the better they'll be able to work professionally from an individual perspective. And I think from a larger enterprise model, we talk about ESG portfolios, investments, but if it doesn't, if the change is not experienced at the grassroots, then obviously it's not going to be of any significance. Yeah. And the future skill climate proficiency model that you're developing is very interesting. We'll be connecting with you and Dr. Fendra soon. We'll want to take this forward in some ways. But thank you so much. And just to add here, because you left us with a very beautiful quote, and we also believe that in this very fast-paced world, we seem to have forgotten some great practices on sustainability that are very localized and indigenous. In the rush of doing everything for the future, sometimes we cease to think about the legacy that we might have inherited, and which might have been grander had we taken forward with a little more judicious care. And we wanted to share with you one more area of research that we are looking at, which is on indigenous practices on sustainability. So may I request our team to share that very quickly. This is being taken by our team members. And these are some explorations we feel very excited to keep sharing. Very quickly, let's take a snapshot of So these are just, few initiatives that we are going to be driving in the future. And should you be interested in joining us for any of these, please feel free to, let us know. We'll be so happy to involve you and take it ahead. Because we believe that, sustainability is also about connecting the past and the future and not just ignoring what good we could have done and how we should be able to carry it ahead. So thank you once again, Enoch. Let me now move ahead.